Welcome to the Brandon Lakey Show. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to Compounding Communities with Brandon Lakey. This is the Brandon Lakey Show. Very excited to have you guys here today. We've got a really fun show. We've got a contest or an announcement for a potential contest / giveaway, something that I think you guys are really going to like. We also have two guests that I'm very excited to share with you. One being Amy from Wild Birds Unlimited. We're going to talk about all things birds today for a few minutes. And for you pet fans, so if you've got little ones that like animals or birds or stuff like that, be sure to stay tuned for that, because that's going to be really cool. We also have Angela Harwell with Caldwell Banker. She's going to be giving us a community update, and so there's a ton of growth, as we all know. You're driving around seeing all this growth happening all around town. So Angela is going to be sharing with us some new updates, some things that are coming to the area. Some exciting things happening in terms of growth in our communities, which, again, going back to our naming with Compounding Communities, you know, my goal in starting this radio show, this podcast, internet type broadcast for all of you to listen to on different platforms. My goal in starting this was really to connect our communities. Some of you guys, you may have heard some of our shows before, but I moved to Melissa, Texas in August. During a bit of a wild pandemic where socializing among the neighborhood was frowned upon. So not much of that happening. And consequently, we moved here, but didn't know a ton of people. And I think there's a lot of people like that move in to this area, the North Dallas, Collin County area. We move here because it's beautiful, because we love it, because the opportunities for our families, the opportunities for our children, but we don't necessarily have that feeling of being rooted in the community. And I grew up in a small community north of Houston, very much on the small community. A lot of, everybody knew everybody. And that was really nice, because if something happened with the AC unit or whatever, you knew exactly who to call. You know who would answer the phone on a Saturday afternoon and who would come rescue you. And that was a really cool small town feel. You know who was coaching the Little League teams. You know who was coaching the girls softball teams and volleyball teams. And so that feeling of a small town, I loved growing up. But the negative side of that was less opportunities, less, we had an egg roll mobile and a Dairy Queen. Some of you guys have heard me reference that on some of our other shows. So not a lot of opportunities. And so I think the ability to live in a town that's big enough to have some amazing amenities for us and some growing amenities, which Angela is going to talk about today, but still have that small town feel, where this is a place where we feel connected, a place where we know each other, and a place where we are proud to raise our families and raise our kids. That's really why I started the show. And so, transitioning into the message that I have for you today, I want to talk a little bit about two quick topics about what I do. So if you don't know what I do, I'm a senior broker with WealthWave. And so what we do is financial education. I'm all about teaching people how to win the money game. And the easiest way to say it is concepts that you wish someone would have taught you when you were 19. And so that is a free educational service that I provide. And then from there, if someone decides to continue the conversation, we talk about goals, dreams, some numbers I'm going to talk about today. And then I make a recommendation to say, hey, this is something that I might do or put into place if I were trying to meet whatever goals, given whatever liquidity, risk tolerances, things like that you have. As a contrast to a lot of the big firms, we don't have minimums. So if you were checking out just then thinking, hey, there's nothing for me to talk to him about because we're not millionaires. We don't have $1 million. Like some of the big firms, they really prefer you have at least $1 million or $500,000 to come toss down on the table before they really feel like giving you much attention. We don't have minimums in our accounts. And in fact, I think some of our lowest accounts, you're talking about a really high quality platform that you can put $10 in. And so, for a lot of people, you hear financial and you instantly tune out. You instantly think, well, that's not for me. And I want, that's really my crusade. Growing up with my dad was a Houston fireman. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. Didn't grow up in a wealthy home where financial advisors were beating down our door teaching us all about money. In fact, it was quite the opposite. No one helped my parents. No one helped my grandparents. And then I found myself in a situation a few years back living in Austin, Texas, working in the tech industry and making great money. My wife working for Google, making great money, but still nobody helping us with this stuff. So hopefully that resonates with you. If no one's helping you with financial education, insurances, college funds, any of that stuff, that's what I do. And so hopefully if you've listened to some of my shows, you know my approach is purely 1,000% educational first. We talk about some concepts that I believe will change your life, which ties into what we're going to talk about for a minute here today. There's two quick topics I wanted to talk about. First is, if you are self-employed or you are a small to medium business owner, I provide services, financial services to those individuals. So if you are an individual where maybe you don't have a retirement plan, you don't have a 401k provided by an employer, that's one of my specialties, is meeting with people who really, you must provide your own type of plan. You need to be in your own setup. You don't have someone that's matching you 3%. You need to have a plan. And so I specialize in people who are self-employed as well as small to medium business owners. If you have a small to medium business and you want to have high quality people, your people are everything, and you know this. So if you're a small to medium business owner and you're listening and you've got a team or a group of employees, how do you recruit, attract, and retain the highest quality people? And one of the ways you do that is to provide them incredible benefits. And so that's another section, another area I haven't mentioned before that you may or may not know that I do, which is meeting with small to medium businesses, meeting with their groups of employees, which starts out as an educational, again, going back to the educational, starts out as a short educational class where we teach them all the things that they need to know. We've had really great luck with some programs for companies like Great Clips, and then the contractor that runs FedEx North down in Austin. We've had some really great, some great case studies that have really paved the way for us coming in, teaching a group of employees financial education, tying in some incentive programs with the employer to say, if you are able to achieve here, and here, we as the employer, we're going to bonus you and really give back to you as the employee to help help you reach your goals. But also, if you're the owner of that small to medium business, to be able to incentivize your people to be incredible, to do an incredible job, to live out the dream that you had when you started this business, and to retain those people where they say, hey, listen, I work here. The owner is incredible. He or she takes great care of me. I've got retirement. I've got life insurance. I've got all the stuff set up I need. They're even bonusing me in certain areas when I do really well. Those are things that we can set up, bonus plans and plans like that for small to medium business owners. So if that interests you, reach out. And then the next thing is 3 concepts. There are 3 concepts that I believe can absolutely change someone's life. Now, last week I talked about the rule of 72 and compounding interest. Actually, I believe that was 2 weeks ago. We talked about compounding interest and how powerful that is. The 3 concepts I want to talk about today, 2 of them being numbers that are essential for you to know. Now, this is, if you're riding along in the car listening and you're thinking, I've got an incredible job. I love my job. They provide me a 401k. You still want to listen to this. If you're a self-employed person, this is still going to be very useful for you if you're providing your own retirement and your own types of growth vehicles within your own strategy. This is going to be important. There's a number called your FIN number, your financial independence number. Now, that number is the number that you need to have when you get to said retirement age. If it's 55, 60, 65, whatever that age is for you, that's how much money you need to have, which translates into how much money you can pull off a little each month to live on in retirement and not exhaust that money, not run out of money. You don't want to be in a position where you're like a lot of people I talk to, where you are at a high risk of running out of money before you pass away. You don't want to be in that position. So you want to make sure you know your FIN number. That's a pretty important number to know. I hope you would agree. There's no one teaching that number. Very few people teaching that number. But what I will tell you is that there are unlimited resources for people that will teach you your credit score. They are happy to help you get into debt and help you spend money. Not many resources out there for people that will teach you your FIN number. So that's an important number to know. The second life-changing concept we're going to talk about today is a number called your actual number. And just like it sounds, very simple. It is based on what you're doing. If you have a 401k or you have an IRA or a Roth or some type of strategy, whatever you have, based on a forward projection, what will that be at said retirement age, 55, 60, 65? And you notice I'm mentioning 55 here. A lot of people think they can't retire at 55. Retirement can be arranged. And for a lot of people, they don't realize that if they make a few simple tweaks to what they're doing and not even changing their lifestyle. I want you to know, we're not talking about lifestyle changes here. We're talking about a few little tweaks and redirecting and making sure the money is working as hard for you as you are for it. There is a possibility that you can retire early. And that actually happens for a lot of our clients, where people say, I think I want to retire at 65. And I say, well, why? If in a perfect world, when would you retire? Well, I'd really like to retire at 55 or 60. We do some math, some conversations later, bam, we're on track to retire between 55 and 60. And now we've shaved off 5 years of freedom. So if you're riding along, listen to this and you think, how'd you like to have 5 years of extra freedom on the backside of this thing? A conversation with someone like me, one simple conversation can unlock the door to 5 years of freedom on the backside. So your actual number, just like it sounds, is just what you're actually going to have. Now, a Fidelity statistic that was published a while back showed that in their age 60 to 69 age group, the average 401k balance was $198,000. $198,000. If you are going to try to live on $198,000, that translates to somewhere between $1,200 and $1,600 a month after taxes. And so I don't know about you, but that doesn't really sound like my dream retirement, living on $1,200 to $1,600 a month, even if everything is paid off. So we know that that's the reality, that half of people, the average person's getting to retirement with $198,000 in a 401k. They say 30%-ish of people have none saved when they get to retirement. So identifying a gap between your FIN number and your actual number is going to be crucial. If there is a gap, there may not be. You may have done a great job in this segment of your life thus far. But if you're not sure, that's two numbers, that's two life-changing concepts that within a very short conversation, we can identify and help you identify. And then the third being how money grows. What type of strategy do you want to be in? Do you want to be in something that is more high risk, something that can make a lot of money, but it can lose a lot of money, or are you more on the conservative side? And I'll tell you, me personally, just to speak for myself and speak for my wife. My wife is very conservative. I mean, if she lost $20 in a slot machine, she'd be upset about it. I'm not quite that conservative on my risk, but I look at it this way. Hopefully this resonates with you. I work too hard to risk losing my money just gambling it away. And I think that's true for most of us. You work too hard. You get up every day. You fight traffic, get the kids to school, get the kids to daycare, whatever you're doing. You work too hard to put your money at that level of risk. So what I would submit to you is the third life-changing concept is there are strategies out there that have guarantees. There are strategies out there that have volatility control. There are strategies out there that even have guaranteed floors of 0 where you cannot lose money and you still get upside growth. There's lots of different strategies out there. Now, I can't know which is the right one for you without a conversation, but most people don't even realize that there are a plethora of options out there for you. And I guarantee you there's one out there that will match up with your risk tolerance that will fit into your portfolio. When we're talking about a portfolio, we're talking about, think of building a house. You got to build a solid foundation, then the walls, then the pretty windows, then the chandeliers. And so you want your financial house to be in order. You want that to be in line with what you're doing. Now, here comes the exciting part. Here comes the contest that is yours to win. If you would like to learn these numbers, if you'd like to learn about the way money grows, your fin number, your actual number, and potentially if there's a gap, if you'd like to learn that, I would love to teach you that. And again, this is a free, no obligation, no salesy type thing, 100% educational. You have a commitment from me on that. If you reach out and schedule that with me, whether that be you putting hashtag the difference, or you putting a comment on our page, or you reaching out to my Facebook page personally, you can search me up and find me, or however you get a hold of me. My number's running at the bottom. You can text me or email me as well. However you get a hold of me, whatever works best for you, you can text me. If you text me and we set up a 30-minute educational conversation where I teach you your numbers, I show you how money grows. We talk about a couple of educational concepts that I commit to you. I believe they'll change your life, and they will certainly change your mindset about money. If you reach out and set that up, you'll be entered into a drawing. And so my producer, Lyndon, will put that up on the screen. You guys will be able to see that. This is a drawing for round trip airfare and 2 nights in a hotel, and there are 23 different destinations. So this is not a timeshare thing where you're going to go and they're going to be like putting you in a headlock and convincing you to buy 27 weeks for $37,000 or something crazy like that. This is not that. Just this is a pure giveaway. 2 round trip airfare, 2 nights hotel accommodations. There's a few little things, terms and conditions on that, because there's 23 destinations you can choose from, but there's a lot of really great destinations. So reach out and let's have a conversation. It's, like I said, purely educational on my side. Would love to just get to know you as a listener of The Difference, as a listener of the Brandon Lakey Show. Compounding Communities would love to be able to talk to you, learn about you, and connect with you in the community. So with that being said, our next guest I'm very excited to talk about is all things birds. So we're going to be talking about Wild Birds Unlimited. We're going to be talking about Miss Amy Fuller. So Amy, are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Miss Amy, I so appreciate you joining us. My daughter is 4 and she loves animals. She turned 4 this Sunday. I mean, I'm telling you, if a bird goes around, we actually had, we've got a back porch area, and we mounted an old TV that we had laying around on the back porch, and it's got a kind of a back area. A couple of weeks back, we looked up and there was a dove building a nest, 2 doves actually, which, as we've learned researching, was a male and a female. Mm-hmm. And so they're building this nest, and my daughter saw it and she fell in love with this. She watched the whole process. She named the mama bird Corella Cluck, which I can only think is some nod to the Cruella de Vil movie that was out. And then Cluck, Corella Cluck was the mama dove's name. And it wasn't long before she laid eggs. Mm-hmm. Then the eggs hatched. She got to watch that whole process. We watched a little documentary about doves. And then the documentary, a blackbird came and stole one of the baby doves. So now blackbirds, I didn't yeah, full disclosure. I previewed the documentary, didn't really realize that the blackbird was going to come in quite that aggressive for a 3.5-year-old, but nevertheless. So now blackbirds in our house are evil. They are mean because they eat baby doves, and doves are, of course, just the most beautiful things. So I got a little work to do. If you're a dove hunter, you're a bird hunter in the audience, I may have a little work to do later when it comes to bacon wrapped dove breast, because at the moment my daughter is a big lover of birds. So who knows if that'll ever transition into her dove hunting with Dad. Yeah. So with that being said, you're the owner of Wild Birds Unlimited. Yep. Out in Frisco. So tell us. So I want to start out. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you've been in the community, and tell us a little bit about Wild Birds Unlimited.
Okay, so my name is Amy Fuller. You can probably see under now it says Negron. I recently got married, so still processing the name change. But I have been in Frisco since 2000. I'm an original Kansas native, but I've been in Texas since '94, and then in Frisco since 2000. I had a long career over 25 years in finance. I'm working for a large technology consulting firm, and decided as I started getting to those, midlife years, that I didn't want to retire doing finance. I wanted to do something else. And so I started kind of looking around at what I like to do and what I enjoyed. And I have fed the birds for years. I was a customer at Wild Birds Unlimited for years, and started looking into buying a franchise. And what do you know, Frisco was open. And so it took a few years to prepare and, kind of think through it and process it. And then we finally signed the papers a year ago, New Year's Eve, and then we opened last July. So we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. So a lot of people, aren't really sure what Wild Birds Unlimited is. We have a lot of people come in thinking that we sell birds. We don't sell birds. This is everything to support wild bird watching. So it's backyard bird watching. So everything you need. We have food, we have houses, we have feeders, we have the poles to hang all of your feeders on. We have all kinds of solutions. Squirrels and other critters are a big problem in Frisco. And so we have solutions to help you keep the squirrels off the feeders while you feed the birds. We also have lots of things to feed the squirrels if that's what you love. And speaking of blackbirds, some people are big crow fans. We have ideas on how to feed the crows and how to keep those crows and the big blackbirds kind of away from the smaller songbirds. So, it's a really fun environment. I think I want everyone who comes into our store to have fun and enjoy it. People who come in typically are looking for a way to relax and enjoy nature and to feed the birds and to kind of escape the crazy life that we all lead. So it's a really cool place to be.
Absolutely. That makes a huge difference. And I don't remember what class it was in college, but it was one of the psychology classes. And I remember when we talked about the section of, relaxation and getting nature and the effect of green spaces, the effect of it. And that, I remember that even tied into the turf grass management class and some other classes talking about city planning and the power of green spaces, the power of having wildlife and bird watching. I feel like that is something that is really grown in the last 10, 15 years. Seems like I see more and more wildlife preserved bird watching areas. Is that been what you've seen as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's understanding the value of having a good park system and having lots of green space. It not only is it mentally and emotionally good for us, but health wise, the more trees you have, the more oxygen that you have in the area, and you can just breathe better. So yeah, if you go to a park, I don't know if anybody goes to Frisco Commons Park, but if you go out there on a Saturday morning, it's packed. There are people everywhere walking around, and it's a great place to just get away. And especially during the pandemic, bird watching definitely picked up in the hobby. Everybody was sitting at home, didn't have a whole lot to do. It's pretty stressful. I mean, I think a lot of people were under a lot of pressure, and people started watching and feeding the birds. You can sit in your living room or in your kitchen and watch out the window and watch the birds like you did with your family. And you just kind of forget about everything else around you. And it's a great escape to just, take 5-10 minutes in the morning and watch your birds. We open the store at 10. So, I don't leave until, 9:15, 9:30. I'll get up and get around, and then I'll just sit and just relax and watch my birds in my own backyard before I go into the store. So it's definitely picked up. I think people are realizing that you can't just be in the concrete jungle all the time, that you need those breaks and you need a place to escape.
Absolutely. And, a lot of the leadership mentors that I have studied over the years, podcasts and books that I've read, you see a recurring theme of people saying, listen, you want to be in control of your schedule and control of your life. And that has, I think, really morphed into a lot of people having very specific routines that they go through in the morning, whether that be, the Tony Robbins jump into a 50-something degree pool or spend 30 minutes in meditation, or if you've got kids, maybe you're spending 5 minutes trying to be in meditation. But certainly, at daybreak, one of the greatest memories I have growing up is sitting in a deer stand, and you're sitting there and the light first starts and you start to hear the birds chirping, and then you hear them up under the grass, and then as a kid, you're kind of, you're watching for deer, but also you're, if you're like me, you're easily distracted. So, you're looking around and you're looking at all the birds and, they have no idea you're there, and you're able to just sit and really watch them in their natural environment. And so tying that into a morning routine, I imagine could be very relaxing and very powerful, just to disconnect, get a few minutes of calm, and really be able to center yourself for the day. I think a lot of people, if you're not really tied in with professional development and you're not listening to some of those podcasts, some of that can sound a little hokey, like, oh, you're going to sit and meditate. But it wasn't until I really tried some of that stuff where you're like, oh, wow, actually disconnecting, leaving the phone on do not disturb, sitting, doing something like just watching the birds, and I tell you, when I'm doing it, not even realizing, is, sitting there and thinking of a couple of things in the mornings that I'm grateful for, where you're just sitting still. And that's something that I've read in so many different things, in the mornings, if you think of 3 things you're grateful for, that's going to set your mind at a certain state. And Tony Robbins teaches this. A lot of people teach this, but it's very difficult to be in a state of unhappiness and a state of gratefulness at the same time. Your brains can't really do both. So if you're thinking of a couple of things you're grateful for, in addition to taking in nature, maybe sitting on the back porch, having a sip of coffee or whatever, that's huge. So I think you've got your hardcore bird watchers, right, that are going out, and they've got really fancy binoculars. I've seen some of these. I mean, they're binoculars. I'm jealous because I'm like, wow, those binoculars are amazing. And they're out there watching birds, even down to you can just do this on your back porch, right?
Yeah, you don't have to go far. Like, there are awesome parks all over. There are preserve areas all around the Metroplex you can go to, but literally you can sit in your kitchen or in your living room or go out on your back patio and have the same effect. And, as you're watching the birds, it does become a bit of a challenge. It's a little bit of an addiction. You sit there and you watch and think, okay, I'm going to see something new today. Like, everybody's always going, okay, what are we seeing new today? So it also becomes a little bit of a, thought process of, okay, I've identified those 5 birds, but I don't know that one, and so it's also very educational, because once you start watching and relaxing, then you start really noticing the different kinds of birds that you're seeing and their behavior patterns. Different birds have personalities. Like, I always call it Peyton Place, like the birds have their own little soap opera going on outside. It's really fun to watch.
That's really cool.
You can go way far out with your binoculars, or you can sit on your back patio. It doesn't really matter.
Nice. So in this Frisco, Melissa, really we'll just call it Collin County area, what are a couple of the common birds that people can really watch for in their backyards or in their community?
Oh, yeah, there are lots of them. We have some that are here, parts of the year, and then some that are here year round. The ones that are here year round, obviously you talked about the doves. They're beautiful. You have 3 different kinds of doves that are really common around here. You have your cardinals, which are a fan favorite. You see the bright red, the males have the bright red with the black, the black stripe on their face, and the orange beaks. You have chickadees. I don't know if everybody knows chickadees are itty bitty little guys. They have black heads, and they're super loud, and they kind of fly in and grab their stuff and fly out. House finches are very common. They're kind of brown, but the males have red on their chest and on their head. Those are very common. And then we do have what I've seen a lot of this year that I hadn't really seen a lot of before, were the red-winged blackbirds. And they're beautiful. They're black, and then on their wings they have kind of a reddish orange and yellow striping. And when they fly, they're really, really beautiful. We do have wrens. I can keep going, but but wrens are really fun to watch too. They're also very, very small, and they eat bugs. And so you'll see them hopping around in your arbors and around the trees and eating bugs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it really is pretty cool. And I'll tell you, some people, you may not be a fan of, you may not be a huge fan of birds, but I would submit to you, you're probably even lesser a fan of bugs.
Exactly.
And so, that's one great thing. And that's one of the things I told my wife. I said, well, the good thing about our house backs up to a creek. So we've got a pretty large bird population back there. And, the doves coming in and stuff like that. And I've told her, that's a really great thing that now hopefully they're keeping some of the bugs in check, as well as, maybe some of the geckos and stuff like that. They're out there eating the birds, and the birds are eating the geckos, and it's a whole cycle, right? So
yeah, that's right. And interesting. one of the, I don't know, during the winter storm, everybody was talking about all the robins. Did you see just flocks of robins in February? And you still see them here. They're not in the big numbers that they were in February. They were eating all the berries and all the fruit that they could get a hold of during the storm. But now you see little holes in your dirt. If you see a tiny little hole in your dirt, those are the robins digging for worms and digging for bugs. So yeah, it's pretty, you start noticing these things once you start, kind of learning a little bit about the birds.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I know, I think we probably get a lot with us backing up to a creek because, being a newer neighborhood, most of the trees are pretty small out in everyone's front yards. So, so that's really cool. Well, that's exciting. So in terms of things in the community, are there any things that you're involved in, passionate about in the community other than birds that you'd like to talk about?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I've been here for a long time. I was on the urban forestry board for about 4 years. I had to unfortunately let that go time-wise, opening a new store. But the urban forestry board is all about trees, so it's all related. So if anybody has any interest, keep an eye out. They do tree walks. So they go to the parks and they walk around and they identify the trees, and it's a great way to just get out. I am also active with the Frisco Garden Club. So lots of people garden in this area, as I'm sure you know. So I love gardening. I love being outside, anything that I can do outdoors.
Absolutely. And if our listeners have young kids, and they want to, somehow, use this as an activity, a way to get the kids out of the house, maybe get off the technology, what would you recommend as a way to get kids involved in bird watching and just getting them outdoors?
Just go outside. Just go outside, walk around, walk through your neighborhood, stop and listen. Just listen for the birds, because if you can hear them, then you can probably find them. A lot of times I'll hear something, as I'm walking, go, wait a minute, that's a cedar waxwing. Where is it? And then I go hunt it down. But just go walk through your neighborhood or go to a local park. You'll hear them and you'll see them. And then, once you start kind of seeing the different kinds, I'll plug my store. We have all kinds of books and little foldouts that help you identify the birds. It's really fun with kids, and it just warms my heart when I see kids like really interested in the birds, because we're just teaching a new generation to get outside and get off their video games and get away from the TV.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is there a setup you recommend? Maybe just a simple bird feeder, or what do you recommend if someone was trying to set something up in the backyard?
Yeah, you can do something very, very simple. A little tray with some seed. We have little seed bells. Just hang it up, or just buy some peanuts in the shell and hang them out. Throw them out in your yard. Now the squirrels like those peanuts too, but blue jays are, and I didn't mention blue jays earlier, but blue jays are beautiful and they're everywhere here, and they love peanuts. Sure. Just buy some peanuts and put them out somewhere where you can sit and watch them come in and eat them. It doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much. Just, get out to a park, or buy a little, buy something small. Of course, we have, whole setups that, we'd love to show you and talk to you about, but it really doesn't take much at all to get started.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. So as an incentive, if you guys go visit Amy and head over to Wild Birds Unlimited, if you do want to get a setup going, or maybe just get a bird feeder, maybe it's time to refill that, that old bird feeder that's been, nailed to the fence for a couple of years that hadn't been used. Amy's offering a one item 20% discount if you mention the Brandon Lakey Show, the difference, compounding communities, any of that stuff. And how you do that, because I feel like sometimes you hear these things and you think, well, that's awkward. How would I even say that? Listen, all you got to do is say, hey, I heard there's a 20% off coupon because I heard the store mentioned on the Brandon Lakey Show, and they'll say, oh yeah, sounds good, and they'll give you that 20% off an item. So go in. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we have a great team, a great staff. Would love to see you. And just say you heard the Brandon Lakey Show, and we'll get you a discount. Awesome.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for taking some time and visiting with us, educating us on all things birds and birds watching. And, we appreciate you, and thank you for being a member of our community and a guest on the Brandon Lakey Show, Compounding Communities.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So next, we're going to transition to one of our newer segments that I've been very excited to bring to you, which is our community update segment. Again, tying in with our mission of really connecting and compounding our efforts, compounding our communities. I've got Miss Angela Harwell. She is from Coldwell Banker Realty Group and Coldwell Banker Commercial Realty Group. Make sure I say that right. So she is a commercial realtor. So she has her ear to the ground and knows of all the upcoming stuff. So, you hear people all the time, they say, oh, I heard this is coming in. I heard this is coming in. Well, this is the person that she was involved in the contract. So she really knows what's going on. So would love to welcome Miss Angela Harwell to the show. Welcome.
Hi, Brandon. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. So I think we'll just start out with talking about, let's talk about the Collin County area and talk about what's going on the commercial real estate front. I know there's a ton of growth, but what's it look like?
Well, it's kind of like, where do we start? Typically, commercial follows residential. And as we know right now, the residential market is very strong. And, COVID really has enhanced the activity for the residential market, and therefore commercial has followed suit. But what we're seeing with commercial is there are certain types of properties that are really very strong right now and in a lot of demand.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And so how long have you been in commercial real estate?
I've been in commercial real estate for 16 years. I started in Florida, Central Florida, and have my Florida broker's license. And then when I moved to Texas in 2016, I got my Texas license.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah. So were you born and raised out in Florida?
I was born in Sarasota, Florida, raised in the Tampa area. And so I'm a Florida girl, third generation. So nice.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Texas and Florida have a lot of similarities in a lot of ways. Certainly, just the way that, you drive 30, 40, 50 miles and you can be in a totally different feel of an area, right? It's pretty crazy how Florida is. I've got some good friends out there. And, one of the things that blows me away about Florida is how much of Florida technically is below sea level.
Correct.
Really crazy how you dig down in the dirt a couple of inches and the hole fills up with water.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We've got a lot of sandy soil there. That's for sure. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Really, really cool. Yeah. Well, awesome. So, in terms of the Collin County area, are there any new projects, new companies that I know some of the stuff you've got coming up, you're on non-disclosure agreements and you can't reveal some of the new businesses coming in, but can you give us an example of a couple of new businesses that are coming in that people can look forward to?
There's a lot. Actually, I live in Melissa. I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission, so we're seeing a lot of growth in the Melissa area. I'm sure folks, you said you live here, Brandon, too, so I'm sure you're seeing a lot of the signs and the brick and mortars popping up. So we're seeing a lot of activity. That's new activity coming in the more outlying areas like Melissa, Anna, Van Alystyne, how, a lot of that growth is going north because the property taxes are still more affordable and the land is still more affordable. So we're seeing a good mixture of some retailers. We're seeing some new grocery stores coming in. Some restaurants, believe it or not, there's a lot of demand for restaurant space. I know a lot of them kind of took a hit during COVID. Retail really was one of the hardest hit sectors, as well as office and hospitality. But we're really seeing a rebound in the demand for the retail space and restaurants, and people are ready to get out. They're ready to socialize and enjoy life. And, luckily those destinations really help provide that for residents in the area.
Absolutely. I know just right here, I live in the Liberty subdivision, and you've got that whole commercial area right out. And I think there's Wingstop and there's a breakfast cafe.
Yes.
Now opened. You know what else is coming in there yet? I know there's a few things that.
Yes. Kroger's looking at a space over there. So we desperately need a good grocery store over there. We've also got some smaller retailers. Obviously, we've got Burger King, we've got Wendy's now, Starbucks. We've got some other smaller retailers. So there's a lot on tap that's coming. So in addition to some additional residential developments too, to bring more rooftops. The more rooftops there are, the more commercial development we're going to have.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Well, I know if you're, I don't know. Well, I don't think there's any HEB out in Florida, but for me, growing up in the Houston area and then living in Austin and that Austin Belton kind of area for a while, well, HEB I think is been a fan favorite, and I know a lot of people are excited about the recent news that's been announced that HEB is coming to North Texas, coming to North Dallas.
Yes.
Have you paid attention to any of that? Tell us. What do you know?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it other than that they've identified some sites. So it's more than one. So that's a good thing. So it's definitely good to keep the variety coming because, people are on the move and, we need some really good grocers to choose from. And so HEB is going to be very welcome here for sure. That's
awesome. And then in terms of future outlook, on the commercial side, you see that continuing strong?
Yes, right now there are certain property types that are like I said earlier, more in demand than others. Land for sure, because as the saying goes, they're not making any more of it. So land definitely. Office is starting to come back a little bit, but obviously the way people work has changed permanently, and we're still kind of navigating through what those changes look like as far as the work habits. Industrial really is very strong, industrial and flex space. So those are property types where you've got some smaller office and warehouse spaces that are in demand all the way up to large distribution centers. So we're seeing a lot of that demand as well. And then there's some niche investments, definitely multifamily. There's a need for that because with the crazy residential market, some buyers are really kind of being priced out. And so they still need a place to live, especially if they've had jobs relocate here from other areas of the country. So multifamily is continuing to be strong. So land, industrial, multifamily, retail starting to come back, and then office is coming back, but it's changing a little bit. So it's kind of in a summary for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw an article, I believe it was yesterday, that was showing a record number of people. I think they said 4 million people quit their jobs. And, there's a monster reorganization happening in that. And a lot of that is certainly, people working from home, people, changing, and so that's it's a lot of things changing. And I think that, when I was in corporate America, you had two very different schools of thought. You had the people that said, listen, we don't trust our employees. We want them right here under our nose. And you had more of the micromanager, that old school, like people, you better be in by 7 and don't leave a minute before 5. And no extra minutes on lunch. And then you had the other crowd that said, wait a second, let's really take a look at the data.
Right.
And the data in a lot of ways shows that people working from home actually they're more productive. They get more done. And so I think that finally some of the data was starting to come out. And then with the pandemic, it really pushed some of those people that were still a little resistant to letting employees work from home. And now I think that's happened for a long enough time where people are realizing, okay, we can still be just as successful, if not more successful, operating maybe even a little bit more lean to the expense of maybe someone that owns a little bit of commercial real estate office space wise. Right. But, like you said, I think it's changed permanently as well. And to be honest, I'm not sad about it. My business in the financial services space, in 2019, we did 98% face-to-face meetings. And, it was either, hey, come to our office. This was back when I was in Austin. Come to our office in the Domain, and you got to fight traffic. You got to find parking in the Domain. You got to get dressed up and schedule time. Or I can come to your house, which, then you're thinking, I got to clean, and I'm going to have this person at my kitchen table. Or we meet at a third-party location, but then we're trying to find a place that's not loud. And so there was challenges there. And now, in 2020, we pivoted to 98% Zoom meetings, and almost exclusively meeting and talking with people and having really high quality, in-depth conversations over Zoom. And we actually our brokers grew 54%. We doubled the growth and during a global pandemic by switching to a virtual platform. We certainly still meet a lot of people face to face. To your point, I think it's changed, and I think it's changed the way business is done in the U.S. and certainly in Collin County forever. And certainly there was a lot of negative and a lot of hurt and a lot of things that happened during the pandemic. But I think if there is a silver lining, if there is some good that came out of it, that would be one thing.
Absolutely. Well, people kind of have their quality of life back, because when you think about if you live in the suburbs and you had to drive, say, to Dallas, okay, well, you're spending at least 2 to 3 hours a day in your car just to and from work. And then if you want to go somewhere for lunch, you got to stop what you're doing, maybe fight traffic if you're somewhere where you can't really walk to restaurants or other destinations. then you got to come back. So it kind of keeps that continuity of your day more intact. And also people are more psychologically relaxed. You know, you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I've got to go get the kids or whatever. Because you can weave those requirements and those responsibilities into your work day. And so, you know, plus people are more relaxed when they're working, they're more engaged. So it has changed. Also the collaborative spaces, you know, like we were talking about office space before, there's much more of a demand for collaborative office space as opposed to the old school private offices. You know, it's like, let's kind of work together, talk together. But on the flip side of that, you know, sometimes businesses are wanting to have more space in between employees because of, you know, safety reasons for, you know, social distancing and so forth. So it's interesting to see the transition.
Absolutely. I can imagine. Well, and so I know you've been in our community now for a long time. You know a ton of people, and your name came up several times from different people when I talked about some potential guests and people that were experts in the commercial real estate space. So you came highly recommended. So tell us about some things in the community that you're involved in, that you're passionate about.
Well, actually, there's quite a few. As I mentioned, I'm on planning and zoning, which I would highly suggest that whatever community people live in, get involved. You know, go visit your planning and zoning and your city council meetings, things like that. Really sit in those rooms and, you know, hear those conversations that are going on. So that way you can really see and hear, you know, what new activity is coming in. So definitely that. I've done some work previously. Our Coldwell Banker Apex, which is actually our parent company, we've had some involvement with Habitat for Humanity, excuse me. So I've done some volunteer work for them. I've got quite a few other opportunities that I've been working on for volunteering and just giving back, things like that. So it's kind of a broad mix. Also, Creek and Timber Legacy is another organization I'm involved with.
They last week.
Yes. So I helped out with that gala a little bit. So that was fun. So I kind of like diversifying myself, you know, just kind of spreading the love, so to speak. So so it's good.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said get involved.
Yes.
You know, that's so huge. And I think sometimes in terms of planning and zoning, stuff like that, you see after something has gone through a lot of approval, a lot of discussion, you know, it's like, oh, well, they're going to build an apartment complex here. And then in the 11th hour, people want to go. And if people are opposed to that, or maybe they're opposed to the location or something, then they're trying to go to that last public hearing. And, you know, this is just purely my opinion, but my opinion is at that point, the ship has kind of sailed. You know, and so certainly if you are someone who wants to help shape the community, getting involved on the front side of those conversations, that's really where the action happens.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily at the end when really the ink is drying on the paper, so to speak. And they're just kind of letting you know, hey, this is what's been approved. This is what's been done. So, well, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Angela. We appreciate you being a guest. We appreciate you taking some time, giving us an update, and look forward to continued community updates. And so the last part of the show here is I just want to again thank you guys for tuning in. Want to let you know that if you have events coming up in the community, if you are, you know, we highlighted Creek and Timber Legacy and their upcoming gala. If you've got things coming up like this that you'd like more eyes on, more involvement, more people just knowing about what you're doing, please reach out to us. Please let us know. We'd be happy to highlight your small to medium business, your event, your nonprofit, your gala, your golf tournament, whatever it is, as well as if you are representative of a sports team, if you guys are going to state, you're going here, you're going there, you know, a cheerleading team, a volleyball team, whatever it is, feel free to reach out to us. Let us know. We'd love to highlight some of our local athletes. We'd love to highlight some of the people in the community doing some of the great things. There are great things happening in our communities. And so despite sometimes what you see on certain media and stuff like that, there are incredible people doing incredible things in our community. And there's certainly opportunities for you to get involved. And so then the last thing I want to mention is Don't forget our giveaway. If you missed that, the talk about that on the front half of the show, our giveaway, our contest, so to speak, if you schedule a 30-minute educational conversation with me, and that's what it'll be, just a conversation where I teach you your FIN number, your actual number. We talk about, some concepts that I believe will change your life, purely educational. You'll be entered for a drawing for that two-night hotel and airfare. So we'll fly you there, put you up in the hotel for 2 nights. You can go to a really cool place, take a weekend with the wife or with your husband, your significant other, and or your best friend. Hey, make it a girls trip, make it a guys trip, whatever. Go somewhere, do something fun on us, and so you'll be entered to win that. So again, thank you so much. If you've listened this far all the way to the end, I just want to sincerely thank you for being a listener of the Brandon Lakey Show, Compounding Communities and the Difference. We appreciate you. Have a great day.